Today we're making this outrageous and insanely delicious blackberry cake. It has a mascarpone buttercream, so it's not too sweet, just right, and perfect for warm weather. Okay, let's get started. To make the blackberry curd, I'm starting off by juicing my blackberries. I don't know what the best way to do this is, so I'm going to use a rolling pin and a bag and just crush them and then strain what I get. We'll see if that works. Starting off with 6 ounces of blackberries into my bag. And now use your rolling pin and just crush them up. So many seeds. Okay. I somehow doubt this will be 1/3 cup. We will see. I might add like a tablespoon of lemon juice just to brighten up the flavor. And if that doesn't add up to 1/3 cup, we're gonna use another 6 ounces of berries. Place your strainer on top and I'm using a muddler just to push the juice through. Very apprehensive because I wore white today for some horrible reason. I don't know why, this is a bad choice. Okay, let's measure that out and see how much we got. Look at that, 1/3 cup. I'm cutting up a stick of butter, or 1/2 cup, that's chilled, it has to be cold, into small cubes. Now that my blackberries are juiced, it's time to strain those 6 egg yolks. Pop them out, and just strain them through your sieve. Now we're gonna add in a cup of granulated sugar, whisk in that sugar, and you'll see the color turn like this beautiful light yellow. Very frothy and sunny. Perfect. Now we're going to pour in our blackberry juice and whisk. And even though we strained everything, we still have little pieces of blackberry skin which give us a nice flecks of dark color. Now we're gonna place this over a medium-low, medium heat and whisk continuously. And eventually you will see a change in consistency. But we're trying to reach 170 degrees Fahrenheit while whisking. Now it's time to add in your 1/2 cup of cubed chilled butter into that beautiful curd. Whisk it in and we can transfer it to cool. All right, so the blackberry curd needs to cool and kind of come together. Feel free to make this the night before. It's perfect. Just spread it on the cake. It's all cooled. There's no wait time. But in a pinch, you can just let it cool for a few hours in the fridge. Cover this with plastic. Let it set in the fridge. 2 1/4 cups of cake flour, 1 heaping teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of kosher salt. Don't forget that 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Sift those together. Add it onto our standing mixer and set aside. Now for the wet ingredients. Make sure those eggs are at room temperature. Don't use cold eggs, people. Now we're gonna add in our milk, 1/4 cup of room temperature sour cream. I'm adding in the zest of 1 lemon into my mixture. Juicing my lemons, and I want about 1/3 cup. Let's measure this out and add it into our wet ingredients. Perfect. Now give it a whisk. Set that aside, and now it's time to cream our butter along with the dry ingredients. When you add your butter into the dry ingredients, also known as the reverse creaming method, you're coating all of that flour in delicious fat, which is inhibiting the gluten and creating a more cakey, fluffy, delicious cake, less bready. 3/4 cup of room temperature unsalted butter into that mix. I'm gonna add a few daubs, mix on low. Continue adding. Okay, let's take a look. I want to show you the crumb. So you're ending up with a beautiful crummy mixture like this. It's gonna be amazing once we add our wet mixture in. I'm going to prepare my 3 6-inch pans by buttering and flouring them. Just get some cold butter, rub it along the edges, add some flour in, kick it around. Transfer the flour to the next pan. That looks perfect. And continue kicking it around. I'm adding on my cake strips now. If you want to see how to make your own or how these work, go ahead and click up over here somewhere for my how to get flat cake layers video. All right, now that my pans are prepared, it's time to finish off that cake batter. I'm adding half of the liquid and then beating it together for maybe a minute and a half, and then adding the rest in and beating for another minute. Now for the rest of the cake batter, let's scrape the bowl down. All right, mix for a minute. Transfer the batter into the oven at 350 for probably 35 minutes. We'll see exactly in the titles below. So for this cake, we're making a really delicious buttercream, and instead of having a normal American one or Italian or Swiss, it's gonna be a mascarpone buttercream. So there's one little trick to it, which just involves not over mixing, but otherwise it's really easy, not too sweet, and like perfect for summery cakes. I love this for warmer weather. 3 sticks of unsalted butter at room temperature into our standing mixer fitted with a paddle attachment. Give it a mix just to cream it. All right, very quick. Now we're gonna sift in 3 cups of confectioner sugar. Close that back up and mix on low. Of course, we're covering with a tea towel, so there won't be as much mess. That's mixing up nicely, and I'm just gonna add in like a little bit less than a teaspoon of orange blossom water. Totally optional. You could use vanilla, you could leave it plain because the blackberries will have a lot of flavor. You could even add in a bit of lemon zest. One final mix. So I'm adding in 8 ounces of this mascarpone cheese, and it has to be room temperature. If it's not, it's just not gonna work. It'll curdle up. It's not gonna mix because you can't over mix this. If you do, it becomes grainy. It'll still taste nice, but it's not going to look nice. Now, mix it in. You could mix it in by hand, but I'm just gonna go for a little tiny bit using my paddle attachment on low. That's it, like 5 seconds. Give it a little taste test. It's so mellow. It's like between American buttercream and Swiss and Italian. So it's a little bit sweeter, but it's really creamy and it's nice and soft. This is not good for making a perfect structured, like razor sharp edged cake. This is for a more rustic or natural cake or a naked cake. Just FYI. Okay, so I'm ready to assemble my cake, but I made an executive decision. I have 3 pretty sizable layers right now, and from experience, I know that this delicate buttercream and my delicate curd are just not gonna stand up to that much weight, and also, I feel like the cake to buttercream and curd ratio should be a little bit different. So, I'm going to take one of my layers and freeze it. I can just use it later, and the other 2 will get cut in half, basically. So I'll have 4 thinner layers of cake, and I think it'll be like a nice cake to frosting ratio and perfect for a summer cake. But that's up to you. You could totally do the 3 layers, or you can make this a sheet cake or cupcakes. The world is your oyster. Okay, let's get to assembling and decorating. I'm starting off by piping a layer of that beautiful mascarpone buttercream onto the first layer of the cake. Add the blackberries, doesn't matter where, and then pipe on a generous amount of your beautiful blackberry curd. Fill in the gaps with some more of the buttercream, and then add the second layer on. You're gonna repeat the process again, and now add your final cake layer on top, a thin layer of buttercream, smoothing it out with your offset spatula. Now the cake looks crazy, so it's time to use your bench scraper to smooth the side of the cake. Give it a smooth, fill in any gaps that you see, and then continue to smooth. If your cake is unstable, now is a great time to add a skewer through the center and chill it. This is optional, but I'm adding one more layer of the curd on top. And if your curd is too thick, just add a little bit of blackberry juice and whisk it in until you get a nice drippy consistency. Smooth it with the offset spatula, and it's time for the finishing touch. I'm giving this cake a beautiful crown of blackberries. I have some that are medium and some that are really tiny, so between those blackberries I'm adding little tiny flowers. And these are Queen Anne's lace, which are edible, but they taste horrible, so take them off. Or you can use something else like honeysuckle or elderflower that tastes much better. I love the look of this cake, but the taste is so much better. Juicy blackberries, that mascarpone buttercream is amazing. It's really not too sweet and it's just right. Also, the lemon cake, magnifico. Okay, I'll be eating this. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe.